When 20 fans come at you with their best takes, it's impressive to hold your own. Let's see what Skip's got. Alright guys, let's get started. As you know, I like to jump around a little bit, so let's get cracking.
Mahomes went 7-4-7. What do you think of that one, Skip? Tell me, come on, buddy.
I think we're going to go in the direction of Stephen Curry. And I'm going to point out.
So we're going to skip to the substantive parts.
Shaq, because Shaq dominated those three finals the way no players of 80 and turns, remember, crickets get buckets because nobody was
Magic Johnson is the greatest Laker of all time. I think LeBron's the greatest Laker of all time because he did put on a Lakers uniform. If they're talking about it with the perspective of who's the greatest Laker, like who was the greatest in a Lakers jersey, that changed things. I think Shaq or Kobe, obviously. Probably Kobe overall.
Greater in the history of the game. Magic did transform the franchise because remember, Kareem had been a Laker for 4 years doing next to nothing until Magic walks in the door in 1980 and turns them around and gets them all the way to a Game 6 at Philadelphia in the finals in which Kareem could not go. And I believe Magic Johnson that day at Philadelphia that evening played the greatest NBA game of all time, greatest player.
See, he's talking about like prehistoric shit, you know what I mean? I'm kidding. That's mean to the older people, but bro, I don't know. Like that was a long time ago. I wasn't there for that. I wasn't alive for Magic Johnson, so it is what it is. Now that being said, I also think that the current era is just significantly better in terms of skill, in terms of strategy, and just everything. Basketball has advanced a great deal. I do think it's turned soft and physicality is less of a focus. Possessional focus is much harder to come by, right? Each possession is quicker on average, and you know there's shots just go up quicker. There are more possessions, and there's less of a strategic focus. But at the same time, the strategy has gotten better, and that things have developed a little bit further along in terms of consecutive actions, offensively, and things like that. Ways to guard screens, you know, stuff has become more advanced. But I feel like the focus on the strategy has gone down, which is something I don't like, and the lack of physicality is something I don't like. But today, the players are just better. So I don't think you can call Magic Johnson the greatest Laker of all time. You'd be doing that based on folklore, and if that's the case, and that's the way you want to do it, based on emotion and stuff, and nostalgia factor, then that could be the case. But he's definitely not the best basketball player. It's just not. That's not the case.
Tough game because he goes as a.
We're gonna move on past this topic. I'm gonna try to find something I like better, and something I can talk about. Okay. Laughably better than LeBron James. I'm not gonna do this with him because, you know, I've debated this too many freaking times. Okay, let's talk about Mahomes. I do want to talk about Mahomes here. I've debated the LeBron thing way too many times. Let's talk about LeBron and MJ.
He didn't even have a Robin yet. He was going solo. He didn't have a Scottie Pippen yet.
LeBron did first couple years.
Okay, I'll
LeBron
give you
did.
that.
And he made it to the finals. He made it to the finals with a less roster than Jordan did.
And they got swept by the Spurs. And I didn't even bring that up because I give you that one.
So
I'm not going to hold that against
So you want to
LeBron.
hold somebody accountable for going to the finals and losing than not going to the finals at all.
Okay.
Right? More money to the city, so many more things accomplished.
Yeah, that's literally the worst argument of all time, and the Jordan stands use, it's atrocious. Like, brother, you don't get rewarded for being 6-0 in the finals because you made it to fewer finals. That doesn't make sense. Having more rings is a statement, yes. Having more rings is means something, but being 6-0 versus being 4, like it's like saying, like LeBron made it to the finals 30 times and won 5. That's better than MJ's worse because he won, or MJ's better because he won 6 and he was 6 for 6. That means that LeBron was perennially in the finals, right? Obviously, I exaggerated his numbers. I'm pretty sure he's got 4 and whatever it is, however many losses it is. But dog, like that's a horrible way to look at things. Like you're penalizing him for being perennially in the conversation and being a championship caliber individual, really. I mean, he was obviously part of championship caliber teams, but he was the driving factor in that. So anyhow, that's a bad argument, of course.
Less players on the team, right? Then his other final losses, right? You could even talk about the fact that when he went up against the Warriors, he didn't even have a running mate with him either, right? So every time you want to protect Jordan, I knew you were going to go with 6-0.
Okay, so he goes up against the Warriors.
Okay.
And I always give him this. Those first 3 games, you remember, because he doesn't have Kevin Love, he was gone already, right? Kyrie fractures his kneecap in overtime of game 1 at Oracle. Remember this? LeBron put up the greatest numbers of his career for 3 straight games. And I'm like, you got this team, because they weren't the Warriors yet. They obviously didn't have KD yet, and they weren't sure who they were.
They were still the Warriors, though. Like, come on. Before KD, they had won chips without KD.
So they're down 2-1, and game 4 is in LeBron's house in Cleveland. And in game 4, he was horrible. He goes 7 of 22. He was 5 of 10 from the free throw line. And I'm like, the next day, I'm telling...
I think that this argument just is so bad because it's like, LeBron's terrible. LeBron has had these low moments. Every player has had low moments. If you were trying to use that argument with LeBron to say that LeBron was inconsistent, I would maybe give it the credibility that it needs for me to even argue against it. But I'm not going to argue with people who say that LeBron is bad based on the fact that he performed poorly in certain games. That's such a terrible way to look at things. Everybody has bad games, all right? And you're talking about, like, LeBron as if he's inconsistent. LeBron is one of the most consistent basketball players to ever play. It's just so dumb, bro. It's so dumb. Like, the line of reasoning here is so dumb. Like, you're picking out his worst moments. You're going through a box score, all the box scores. Oh, look at this. His percentage here was like 30-something%. He probably sucks. He probably sucked that night. He probably did so many things to contribute to that game on film that aren't going to show up on the whatever. You know what I mean? Like, on the box score. So this shit is bullshit. So that's trash. And LeBron, look, I wanted to make this point, okay? Patrick School alum, my cousin, right? My basketball cousin, Kyrie Irving, cousin, or I guess he'd be my nephew. I don't know, because I was on staff there. I served as the general manager of the Patrick School for 2 years. I don't know what that makes me to Kyrie. He's obviously older than me, so I don't know if I could call him my nephew, but we'll just call him my cousin, right? I worked alongside his former assistant coach. So whatever the fuck that makes, at the same school. So whatever that makes me to him, that's where we're at, right? Kyrie left and honestly took a significant hit to his legacy. Let's look at it in hindsight. A lot of people called it then, right? Leaving LeBron was a bad idea. Leaving Cleveland was a bad idea for Kyrie. Everybody was telling him not to, apparently, within the organization. He left anyway for his individual sake. And obviously now he's like a 90 rated player on 2K. He's like, he's got 1 ring, right? And I'm not saying the 2K ratings mean anything, but you understand how public perception functions. Like, imagine he stayed with LeBron, they had like 3 rings in Cleveland. Where would Kyrie would be regarded as, like, he'd definitely be like a 96 on 2K. Just off of that. You see what I'm saying? Like, LeBron literally elevates players' legacies, and then we'd call them like, well, he had this guy. You got Jordan had this guy. No, but LeBron literally made that guy that guy. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Dwayne Wade was tough before him. Bosh, though, Bosh embraced the role. I mean, Bosh was a star, but he wasn't no, like, blue chip guy like in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was, right? But he wasn't like, I don't think he was a Scottie Pippen. And I don't think Dwayne Wade was like Scottie Pippen. I think Scottie Pippen was better. Watching Scottie's film, he almost looks like a worse LeBron. You know what I mean? A wing forward that's just very versatile, athletic, long, tough, physical, and can play both ends of the floor extremely well, rebound, do everything on the court. He probably didn't have the offensive awareness that LeBron does, but that's because LeBron is probably one of the most offensively aware basketball players of all time. Anyway, let's continue.
Stephen A. on ESPN, he had a chance to step on their throats. It was, remember, the Iguodala game where Steve Kerr said, I'm going to switch. I'm going to start Iguodala, and I'm going to put him on LeBron. And LeBron just shrank. He closed up. He had them. If he had stepped...
I'll agree with him here. LeBron is not built for the moment in that sense. I don't think personality-wise LeBron James is intended to be a clutch player. I don't think that he has his fair share of clutch moments where he's shown out, you know what I'm saying, and really clutched up. But I don't think that that's where he excels the best. There are guys who play, Michael Jordan having been one of them, and who I've coached guys who were just built for that moment, dog. Like, they literally elevate like crazy. It's like, this is my time. It's go time. Last few seconds of the game, I'm getting the ball, and I'm going to show everybody who I am. Some people are built like that. Some people are not. That doesn't make LeBron a worse basketball player at all. A lot of people will use that and be like kill LeBron over it. Like, nah, bro. LeBron will just dominate you all game. What about that? We're not going to talk about that? We're not going to talk about that because he's not a closer. We're not going to talk about the fact that he smacked you around all year. All year. Dude had his nuts in your face and was dominating, like throwing dudes around in the paint, dunking on people, blocking people, doing everything on the court, everywhere. But because of the one moment where he's not built to be a closer, that somehow makes him worse. I don't understand that. That's one quality that he doesn't have. Even the greatest players of all time are not perfect, right? Everybody is lacking in some regard. MJ was not the biggest guy. He was not the most physical. Like yes, of course, he was extremely in terms of basketball player conversation overall. He was very physical and very like he was still like 6'6", 6'7", right? 6'6". But we're talking about there are guys in the GOAT category in that tier that are like he's actually weak for that tier. So if you want to talk about it that way, and that's the same thing with LeBron in closing. He can still close, but he can't close as good as some of the other GOATs, right? As well as some of the other GOATs. So I mean, it's just yes, I understand what he's saying, but that does not mean that he sucks. You're saying if LeBron sucks, as if LeBron sucked.
On their throats, and they'd gone up 3-1, and this is the 2015 finals, the first one against the Warriors. You got me. That you could make a go case, but instead he shrinks and disappears in games. Here we go again, 4, 5, and 6, right on schedule, and they lose in 6 games. So he couldn't close deals. All the great clutch shots that Jordan made, they closed deals. LeBron's made a few clutch shots, but they never mattered. They were never meaningful. They never ended series or games.
Yeah, but 2016, bro, like, I wasn't even watching. I barely was watching Game 7. Like, I was like, you know what, this series, first of all, I was in college, so I was doing mad other shit. And, dog, I was like, I'm not even going to watch this. Like, I at that point, I was like a LeBron hater, right? Wasn't even watching. Turned on, watched like the last 4 minutes of Game 7, and then I kind of like started to assess what was going on. The fact that LeBron basically, with Kyrie alongside him, of course, and Kevin Love, took down that Warriors team. That team took down that Warriors team. Like, LeBron had to be the GOAT for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, he was the only matchup his team had that they were winning. You understand what I'm saying? When you look at the starters versus the starters on paper, he was the only guy that was better than the guy at his same position on the other team. Steph was better than Kyrie, right? Clay was better than whoever, J.R. Smith, whoever was the starter at that time. Iguodala and LeBron obviously. And Dre and Kevin Love and, whatever the matchups were in that instance. Like, they had, I think they had Harrison Barnes at the time, who was better than the Cavs 4, right? And the 5 would have been, when I say 4 and 5, I talk about those things in terms of like your rankings. Like, LeBron's the 1. I know most people will say that's point guard, but in the way I look at coaching, the way I look at basketball, I say you're one guy, that's your LeBron, that's your MJ, that's your Steph Curry. The 2 guy would be like your Kyrie, your Klay Thompson. Right? It's not. That's what I mean when I use this terminology. This is the way I think about things personally. I know it's unorthodox, but it is what I do. So in that context and using that framework, the 4 guy and the 5 guy for the Warriors were probably Harrison Barnes and Iguodala and Harrison Barnes were probably the 4 and the 5. Draymond would have been the 3, right? So they were better than the Cavs guys. It's an argument, but whether Kevin Love or Draymond Green were a better third option, Anyway, let's continue. The point is that the fact that they won that finals says a lot about LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way he's able to just dominate a game and change the outcome on a single player.
Games or championships.
No, you see, that's where you're trying to pick and choose, right? You want to talk about clutch games, but then you don't want to talk about how he's dragged so many teams to the finals, right? And he's the one hitting the game-winning shots, right? The same way he took Toronto out, right? The amount of times he did that count.
Well, he wasn't the one that hit the game-winning shot in Game 7 against the Warriors, right? But yes, he of course, I'm just saying that, but he has hit a lot of game winners in the playoffs.
countless times, you don't want to talk about that, though.
Well, I will.
You want to only talk about when Jordan does it in the finals, as if Jordan's career was only 6 years. He's 6-0 in the finals, but his career isn't 6 years.
No.
He had 6 to 7 years before that, and then he had another 2 years in the Washington Wizards at 40 years old. We don't.
One thing I just thought, this is the way I wanted to articulate this, right? One thing MJ stands do is they overvalue the value of a closer. Kyrie closed a Game 7 to win the NBA Finals. Does that make him better than LeBron James? I mean, come on, guys. What are we talking about? LeBron was the carrying factor that got them all the way to that point. So it's just crazy. That argument is weak, and I think the 6 rings argument is weak because that's dependent on a team and a dynasty. They all played together for 6 years, whatever. And then the, not losing in the finals, that doesn't really matter. Like, we're talking about, we're basically saying there's more important, we've been through that argument. That's been dusted already.
Talk about LeBron at 40 now.
Okay,
They literally tried to drag him out the court. Gilbert Arenas talked about how they literally was ready to hand him the keys and get Jordan out of there by 40.
He
was
two
a cancer.
ceremonial years. He wasn't a cancer.
Yeah,
he was running the show. He was going to be the GM and the head coach and the fading superstar.
So those years don't count then.
Okay,
that's the way it sounds like.
The last 2 years I don't count.
That's crazy.
Okay,
Yeah, but Bron was doing at that age. Bron is still going. I mean, he's slowing down now. But you got to talk about the first. What about those first years though? Like all the time until he started winning rings. What was MJ doing? Losing in the playoffs? LeBron never did that, bro. LeBron came on in 2003 as a rookie, and by 2007 he was clearly the best player in the league. Like clearly, and he was already damn, bro. 2003 he might have been in that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like in that year he was already like, yo, who is this rookie? He's fucking killing everyone. He's the best player on his team. He's a rookie. He came straight out of high school. Like, that was in 2003.
You want to count everything about LeBron. You want to count everything about LeBron, but then take some years out.
He took 3 years off. He retired.
I actually remember seeing a Sports Illustrated magazine in, it was either 2003 or 2007. And it was about the best players in the league. LeBron was ranked like number 3. I'm pretty sure that was his rookie year. Yeah, it was. It was his rookie year. It was right after his rookie year. They had him ranked as like the 3rd best player in the league. As a rookie. Like, what are we talking about? MJ won 6 rings, 6 out of 6. He didn't make it before that, though. Like, you say that as if, he didn't, like, he just randomly started winning rings and then just disappeared after he won those rings. Like, he pulled up, he was on the scene, couldn't make it, right? Couldn't get past Isaiah Thomas, who LeBron would kill. Right? I mean, I'm just saying, like, let's just, bro, like, and then, then he won his rings, and then he was mid for a little while. MJ's an exceptional, electric, extremely great basketball player. Watching his old film is really, really impressive for that era. I'll say that. But at the same time, the shit he was doing, bro, it was not all that. Their footwork was ass back then. They used to walk up and the defense was ass. They didn't have to guard the perimeter nearly as much. They would just pack it in and beat the shit out of you in the paint. They were more physical, right? MJ was probably like, he was tougher than a lot of guys in this era. And he had a great mid-range jump shot. He obviously elevated high. He was a high flyer, Air Jordan, right? His airness, all that. He was a great athlete. He was a great basketball player. He's also very instinctive. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that MJ did great and exceptionally. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the shit they were doing back then was just ass. Like, it was just ass, bro. It was just flat out, it was just garbage. It was not good compared to today. Back then, it was great. Up until the 2000s, probably still really, really good. But today, look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Look at Kyrie, what these guys do offensively with their feet. The ball manipulation, the shit they're doing, bro. Look at the shit they're doing. And you tell me, like, because of the relative, where they stand relative to the league today, they're not better than these guys in the past. They are way better. Like, if you just show me tape, right, of Michael Jordan and you show me tape of Kyrie Irving or Shai Gilgeous right now, those guys are just way more skilled, way better at basketball, right? Now, obviously, MJ has athletic qualities and physicality that actually, I would say, supersede that and put him in a status as a better basketball player anyway. But he can't shoot the 3 like them. Like, there's certain things that, defensively he was probably better. But, today the game is just different in a much better way.
because they ran his coach out the back door in Chicago, and he said, "I'm out." Well, it was on pride and principle. He just said, "I'm out. I'm not going to play anymore." And he came back.
Greatness means keep playing year in and year out. Every year, LeBron keeps extending his career because the love of the game, and that matters. Okay, right? His heart is still in it.
Laughably better is crazy. All right. Anyway, I want to move on to the next talking point. All right, Patrick Mahomes is dramatically overrated. Let's talk about this.
Because you got to defend his Super Bowl performances.
If you want me to say, okay,
because I don't think you can.
How can you bomb a wild card game at home in Gillette and then say, "Oh, you made the most important game of the year and didn't play your best"? This is bizarre to me. It will never make sense. No,
you know,
real fast. Let me make this real
right?
fast. Greatest stadium in the world, 142.2 decibels, baby.
You remember this is 2018 AFC Championship game
where Patrick never touched the ball, and the Chiefs wanted the rules changed. They didn't do it, but they did it for the Buffalo Bills.
Do you remember what Tom Brady did in your house? Did 3 times in a row. He faced third and 10. 3 3rd and 10s in a row.
You're right.
And he goes, Edelman, Gronk, ball game.
The same way Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 58, down 3 points in overtime, 2 4th downs, a 2nd and 14, because Marquez Valdez-Scantling forgot which way the end zone was and ran backwards, and he converted, and he hit who in the end zone? McCole Hardman for a touchdown back-to-back. Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Was his one and only great Super Bowl.
It was unbelievable.
All right. I'm just going to give my take on this comment. Patrick Mahomes is dramatically overrated. I would say that Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback of all time by far. Arm talent, by far the greatest arm of all time. I mean, you can't even argue that. He's able to do stuff off platform just off of sheer arm strength and accuracy that most people can't. He is extremely undisciplined footwork-wise and mechanically. That doesn't make him a worse quarterback. Talent can trump that, and in this case it does. He's proven that you can supersede that. A guy like Brady, who was perfect mechanically damn near, and also had good arm strength and was able to deliver, he did it in a completely different way, right? He was a very traditional quarterback. Mahomes is an improviser and a freak. Maybe he's a little bit more inconsistent because of that, right? But I mean, the plays he makes and the talent he has speaks volumes, jumps off the page. The numbers he's put up, obviously, that's a product of the era as well as his talent. I think that I'm neutral on this. I'm not going to say he's overrated. I'm not going to say he's underrated. I would say that he is probably the greatest quarterback of all time in terms of sheer talent and capability. I don't say that the career and the production and the legacy back that up yet.
All-time clutch. Also about this, since 2001, there has been 125 NFL playoff drives where the score was 7 points or less in the fourth quarter or in overtime. The rate of success of that is 40%.
Okay.
Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., as you like to put it, went 5 for 11 in that situation, which is 46%. That's pretty dang good. That's not bad. Okay. Patrick Mahomes went 7 for 7. What do you think of that one, Skip? Tell me. Come on, buddy.
Okay.
Shout out Shannon Sharp.
Let's get to the facts here.
Okay.
Let's get to his first Super Bowl against Jimmy Garoppolo. Really? Okay. Where you guys are down 20-10 late third quarter, and he throws a horrendous interception. Where I'm saying, what are you doing, man? Then early fourth quarter, you're still down 20-10, and he throws an even worse interception.
He did.
And you're sitting somewhere, I guess, at home, and you're saying, Patrick, what are you doing? We're dead. And all of a sudden, it gets to be third and forever. Do you remember? It's 3rd and 15 at the 35, and all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes drops back, and there's a rusher in his face, and he basically goes like this. Like, let me just throw it as far as I can. He throws a punt that Tyreek had to come back and wave for a fair catch. That's how bad it was. Okay, and that saved the game, and yet Jimmy Garoppolo in the fourth quarter goes 3 for 11 with an interception for 36 total yards, and he missed Emmanuel Sanders, or we're having a different conversation. That's how you survived the first Super Bowl. The second Super Bowl is against Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
He had no offensive line.
Okay,
literally
no offense. I keep hearing that.
5 of us could have been out there,
but it was 31-0.
Yeah, but you're talking about outcomes and specific games. I don't think that that's how you got any. This is the framework that most people use when we're having these conversations about player evaluation, but I don't think that anybody legitimate who actually breaks down and evaluates players for a living looks at it this way. This is just talking head shit. Like, if you're looking at the film and what he's capable of, what he does, his habits, his tendencies, we're talking about like the outcome of a single play that changed the amount of Super Bowls he has, and like how he performed in this game, and why that makes him this, and that's not the right way to think about this, if you ask me. Obviously Skip's job is to sensationalize. That's the whole point. So it makes sense. Like, he has to keep it surface level. The discussion has to remain surface level with him. He can't talk about the evaluation side of things because nobody pays attention to that. That's not entertaining. That's not how he makes money. So I think that this is what they're just talking about is meaningless to me. I'm actually just gonna move on. Bill Belichick is overrated. All right, let's talk about this. I like this topic. An 80% Brady. Oh.
Top 10 defense every year except for
really
once.
good. Yep.
Granted, he had Lawrence Taylor. I'll give you that. So then he leaves for the Browns after there's 2 Super Bowls that he had where they had top 2 defenses. The Giants went from the best defense in 2 years down to the worst. And the Browns went from dead last all the way to the top 10 within 2 years with Bill Belichick. As my friend here said, Tom Brady's never won a Super Bowl without a top 10 defense. Bill Belichick is not 20%.
My take on this is this, right? I think Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't think he's the GOAT. I think that there are guys who, given his talent or his roster and organizations, could have also won, and that those Bucs teams were absolutely loaded offensively and had great defenses as well. Bruce Arians being a defensive-minded head coach and having good defenses statistically. I can't remember off the top of my head who was on the roster, but they had great defenses. I mean, they had Antonio Brown, Gronk, Fournette, Bowling. These guys were out of their minds, right? Mike Evans, of course. I mean, you guys had we're talking about like a great team that could have won the Super Bowl with multiple different quarterbacks. So that being used as like, oh, well, Brady did it without Belichick and Belichick, blah, 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 blah. That's a bad argument because, you could put, let's say I say Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT. Aaron Rodgers wins a Super Bowl with that team easily, that Bucs team. Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning probably wins a Super Bowl with that team as well. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, my birthday twin. Shout out him. He does a lot of psychedelics, so I fuck with that. And then we got, Mahomes. Mahomes right now, even without that, is cooking. Like, I think that argument is moot. The fact that Brady won one without Belichick, I don't think that means anything. To me, it doesn't mean anything. It would mean something if it was more sustained or, he had split his career in half or something like that. But just at the tail end of his career, to still be a very good quarterback and go to an exceptional team, like a very, very loaded team, and just win a Super Bowl, I don't know that carries a lot of weight to me. Belichick obviously has an excellent track record running a team and having an organization. Everybody that talks about him, what you know about him from guys within the organizations that he played for is that he's no bullshit, no nonsense kind of guy, cutthroat, winner, right? That's the way I see it. He's well respected. I think that he clearly knows what he's doing because he's found diamonds in the rough many times. So evaluation-wise, he knows what he's doing. Development-wise, he knows what he's doing. Obviously, X's and O's, or those are kind of esoteric concepts. We can't evaluate that in a vacuum because the personnel you have is very important. But he was able to get this stuff lined up and make the stars align, so to speak, and win Super Bowls, many Super Bowls. They were good with Bledsoe before Brady, right? And Brady obviously earned his spot when Bledsoe went down by balling out and performing to the point that they were able to win. But I think Belichick was a very large contributing factor. Quarterback is one position, right? To say the Patriots dynasty was 80% one guy that played on the field and had influence over one position. I mean, he had influence over, his sphere of influence was pretty large offensively, of course, but you're talking about one guy. He plays one side of the ball. And he was very, very good at that position. That was crucial, but he wouldn't be able to do it without decent receivers, without decent offensive linemen, with a shit defense, right? With a bad coaching staff. You know how many great quarterbacks have been destroyed by horrible coaching? So I think this is a delusional take. This is only somebody who is a journalist could say something this stupid, right? Only a journalist could say this because they are outsiders. You know what I'm saying? These guys have never been in an organization, and that's where this type of fucking fugazi nonsense comes from. But look, it is what it is. People talk. I mean, it's good to talk about it. Let's see what these guys have to say.
All right. You can make the argument for 50-50. Brady did some great things. In his 2 best Super Bowl performances.
You can make the argument for 50-50. I would respect that more. I think it's crazy to attribute 50% of a dynasty to one player. I would say it's like probably 65% the coaching staff, the organization as a whole. And if that was Belichick at the helm of that, then that was mostly him. And the remainder goes to the players, and maybe 20% of that goes to the quarterback. That's a lot of it, but still, man, like you got to be realistic with the way you look at these things. Of course, as fans, people want Brady to be like, oh, Brady, that's my guy. I have a fucking man boner for him, man crush, whatever the fuck, right? And so that's but that's ridiculous. That's just not how it works. It's just not how it works. Under no circumstance is the quarterback 80% of a dynasty. Of course, he's a crucial. I mean, for sure. Again, folklore, narrative, nostalgia factor. He might be 80% of that, but he is not, bro. That's not how it works, bro. It's just not how it works.
He wasn't able to carry them to the win.
Okay. I give you, Bill Belichick was a really good defensive coordinator
Yes,
under Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
He wasn't the leader. He wasn't the CEO.
I agree.
He didn't set the tone in the locker room,
Okay.
but he was really good, and then he became a head coach.
Yes, sir.
And if I look at Bill Belichick's head coaching record
Yes,
without
sir.
Tom Brady,
Yes, sir.
without Tom Brady, he's 64 and 85. And when he got to New England, before Tom Brady fell out of the heavens into his lap,
Yes, sir.
he went 35 and 47 in New England without Tom Brady.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's 35 and 47. So that's 12 games under 500. And his total head coaching record without Tom Brady is 21 games under 500.
Okay.
Well, that's overrated, because once Tom Brady was gone from New England, and they'd won 6 Super Bowls together, 4 seasons elapsed. And did you see what happened? Bill
Yes, sir.
Belichick got exposed.
Oh, here we go.
Okay?
We can talk about Tampa Bay. Tom Brady in Tampa Bay.
Okay, but think
Top
about this.
5 defense. His first year he got there.
Okay.
Jameis Winston could have won that
He
Super
made
Bowl
a
that year.
smart choice, didn't he?
Jameis Winston's crazy. I mean, yeah, Brady went and jumped ship, yeah.
Because
Yes,
I
sir.
didn't see that coming. Tom Brady's going to Tampa Bay.
But those are a black mark on Belichick's record. Those losing seasons and losing record without Brady. Even so, I think two good things can make a great thing. That doesn't mean that the fact that they were together to win all those Super Bowls means that and he didn't win without him doesn't necessarily mean anything. Those two could have just been a great combo. And then Brady went to another great situation, whereas Belichick was left without a great situation.
But he knew that the cupboard was not bare in Tampa Bay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that's just being a wizard. To
But he
me,
didn't
that's
carry
being
them.
a genius.
Brady didn't carry them there.
Okay, so 4 seasons without Brady after he's gone to New England. Bill Belichick's still the head coach. They had the 7th worst record in the National
He
Football
had Mac
League.
Jones, a Pro Bowler.
33 and 50. He picked him, right?
Yeah.
He picked
And
him.
he played as a Pro
33 and
Bowler that year.
51.
Plays as a
Okay?
Pro Bowler.
So you can see that Belichick was nothing without Brady.
That's not true at all.
Okay, they played one playoff game. Do you remember the playoff game
I
at
do.
Buffalo
Yes,
against
sir.
Josh Allen?
Yes, sir.
And it was 47 to 7. And it was the immaculate game because the Patriots, the Bills were never forced to punt.
Yes, sir.
So Bill Belichick's vaunted defense couldn't even make Josh Allen punt
You gotta
one
realize
time.
who else left that defense, though. Bill Belichick, if you're naming the Patriots Super Bowl rosters, you can
Okay.
name more stars on their defense than you can on their offense. You will be able to name way more defense. Brandon LaFell's a Super Bowl champion. Where'd he go after the Patriots? Listen,
Okay, good job.
Hey, great to meet you.
All right, thank you.
Good argument. It's impressive that Skip's going against all these people who probably are bringing their best takes to him, and he's taking them on. I want to see if there's another topic here. LeBron is the GOAT again. Let's see.
All-time playoff.
Right, and I think that was one of the best Super Bowls, but every time
This guy.